It's the Pikey and Loughz Show, Talking Taipans. With Chris Pike and Alex Loughton come to you with everything that is 100% Taipans. Let's go. It's Talkin Taipans.
Hello and welcome. We're here for another episode of the Pikey and Loughz Show. And guess what that means, Loughz? We've made it to 6.
Made it to 6, mate. Never in doubt. Never in doubt.
Never in doubt. Now, you had a massive weekend, and so did the Cairns Taipans. So we're here talking Taipans, obviously. So we're a bit more upbeat than we were 7 days ago, where we were hopeful this time last week of a good performance against the Brisbane Bullets, and boy, didn't the Taipans deliver. I think that was on par probably with the win over in Perth against the Wildcats, just because it was a 4-quarter effort. It was a much-needed win. It was against a team that was pretty desperate in their own right in the Brisbane Bullets, and it was in front of the home fans as well. I thought, as much as you were enjoying your day and your night there as well, I think there was a lot to like from what the Taipans put out there on the court.
There certainly was a lot to celebrate in the day for all Loughzy. And I managed to retain my funky shirt for the game, so I didn't have time to change, which people said they could see it from the other side of the court, which is good. All going to plan. But yeah, 40 minutes, just what you said. They played for 40 minutes. All 4 quarters they delivered. And honestly, I was probably expecting more of a fight from Bullets given their situation. You know, they're their 5th place, just out of the playoffs coming into that game. So, but on a downward sort of trend based on commentary around their team and everything, I was expecting a lot closer game. I predicted the Taipans in 2 in overtime, but it was a blowout. So double digits. So yeah, congrats to the boys, and hopefully they can tap into the blueprint of what happened in that game. And I think it's something along the lines of every single quarter to a man, you got to bring the juice. And once that quarter or that segment is done, put it away, and then focus on the next 5-minute block in front of you. So just a great win for the team, a much needed one to get retribution from the week before. But hopefully they can build or harness that energy for this Perth Wildcats game Saturday. Yeah,
that's exactly what you talked about on the show last week. There's another thing we talked about on the show last week, which I'll touch on in a little while as well, which I'm not sure if Mike tuned into to us or if he might just be on the same wavelength as us. But there were some things. Oh,
it's the first thing that gets played in the office next day after we air the show, mate. You know that.
Well, I hope so. Now, before we dissect that win a bit further, Loughz, there's some things we need to get out of the way first of all.
Sure.
Now, you talked last week. You told us you had your beer festival at work, and you did a great job organising it because it looked like it was a great success. And by the time you got to the game, it certainly looked like you had enjoyed your game. And I think I'll trigger Paul to Swift one. He could have chosen to interview you any week this season, but he chose Saturday night especially because he knew what sort of state you were going to be in.
Oh, I don't know exactly what you're talking about. Are you saying that I was a little bit more excited than normal, or I was just a happy camper? Or was
you seemed especially happy. You seemed especially happy.
A few too many brewskis. It was an awesome event. We had sort of 3,000 through the doors at Hemingway's. So, to go from that to the game was pretty cool. And then I could just relax a bit. I was kind of on the clock back at work. Was doing a bit of filming as well. But, nice to sit in the box at Cairns Total Physio and get the courtside seats to DJ Newbill's throwdown. I was right under the bucket. It got me out of my chair and down to the barrier, Pikey. I must admit, it was certainly a big one. Awesome night.
Very nice of Tom to offer you a courtside seat. Is that your first chance to sit courtside at a game as a spectator?
I'd say it is. It would be. So, no, it was cool. I felt like I was just going to run on the floor, high-five the guys and just kind of bring the huddle in and just, continue about my merry way. I was like, oh, no, hang on a minute. I'm not allowed past this big digital screen. So, it was great to just enjoy the game and have a few brewskis watching the contest.
This episode of the Pikey and Loughz Show is proudly brought to you by Cairns Total Physio. Less pain, more life. And Statton's Plumbing Company. Plumbers who care.
Now, before we talk more about the game itself and DJ's dunk and everything else, I want to get your very quick thoughts on some other things happening around the league, because it seems, or around basketball in the country, because there seems to be a couple of big talking points. Firstly, well, speaking of the Brisbane Bullets, their coach Andrej Lemanis, it looks like he's now been replaced as the Boomers coach ahead of the Olympics by Brett Brown. He played under Andre, obviously, with the Boomers. Are you surprised by that? Do you think it's the right move, the wrong move? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's probably one of the first times we've had a coach go away and come back in terms of Brett Brown, if this does eventuate, which it looks like it is. But I think the key thing around it is Brett Brown would have relationships built into probably one of the biggest superstars going around, which is the big reason why maybe he's the one that is believed to be able to steer this star-studded lineup and have egos in check, and he's done it so well on an NBA level. So in terms of someone with pedigree, and it's no disrespect to Lemanis, but it's just that Brett Brown is at the top of his game, and right now where the Boomers are poised, they need someone. Given that he's available, it does make sense that Brett Brown would be able to steer this team to Tokyo. And you talk about egos in check. I think Lemanis is a pretty sort of relaxed sort of way, an environment for his teams. When he got the three-peat in New Zealand, I think he really relies on his leaders, on his stars like CJ Bruton. He really led the floor in terms of keeping guys accountable. I think Dre is more of a relaxed sort of coach where he says, well, we've just got to keep some people happy and you guys keep playing hard, that kind of thing. But the environment allows for the superstar veterans to really control the team. And if you don't have the right mix, then sometimes it can sort of backfire a bit, and perhaps, at Brisbane Bullets, there's not as strong-willed enough guys that can really take over the reins, like a CJ Bruton that is playing. Now, CJ's coaching, of course, but it's a totally different ballgame. Now, you put Brett Brown in the mix, who has clout with the big dogs. You have, he's able to really lead the individual players, and they all look up to him. I think that's the biggest key. I'd say Bogart has a lot of respect for Brett Brown. I'm not talking from any kind of not inside knowledge or anything. I would assume, it sounds to me like that would be the case. I'd say the fact that he knows Ben Simmons very well, obviously, is probably the biggest factor. And I think there would be a lot of buy-in from, Paddy Mills and all the other players that have sort of been reported at having a little bit of a clash with Dre at times. So I think this is the right move. I think this is an extremely exciting proposition. It's most likely going to come into fruition, and it sets the stage for an unreal sort of couple years in the build-up to what could potentially be the Boomers' best campaign ever. Now,
the other big talking point has been, over the last week, the New Zealand Breakers. If you go back, to the time when Lemanis was coaching them, and even more recently when Dean Vickerman coached them to their last championship, I think they were the most respected club in the league in terms of the culture they'd built, the way they had gone about their business, and the success they had had on and off the court. I think it's fair to say that's all been thrown out the water in the last 12 to 18 months. And this last week to have two players arrested, one of them, which was no surprise if you have a look at Glenn Rice Jr.'s history. So the fact that he comes in the first place is probably a big question mark, when I'm not sure any other club would have gone near him, no matter how talented he was. And then to have your owner and your general manager also fined and suspended at the same time. What do you make of what's happened at the New Zealand Breakers?
Well, two things come with a player with a rap sheet. One, a discount because he's available. Yep. So therefore, he's probably, got a huge amount of upside in terms of his playing ability. But if teams don't want you and you're available, then you're coming in at a discount. So money came into it. They're like, sweet, we get this player of this caliber. Oh, we'll manage the risk. And we've done a bit of that before at the Taipans in terms of getting a young player that's kind of a risk. We'll see what happens. He's not proven yet, sort of thing, which is sort of it's a little bit similar similar in vein, but it's also a little bit different. I think Scotty Wilbekin, before his prime, he had a bit of a rap sheet coming out of college. So NBA teams weren't prepared to go for him. So we got him, at a discount rate, and then after the season, his stock quickly went up. Culture-wise, though, the three-peat was right when I came back from Spain, and now 2010 Taipans grand finalist lost to New Zealand Breakers, and that was the start of their three-peat. Their facilities at practice was unreal. They had all of their, team sort of culture plastered on the walls every 24 seconds. We're team, we're together, we're tight, and that was the theme. Every 24 seconds, boom, every 20, and had this kind of heartbeat graphic. It was plastered all over their practice court. They had two courts, sort of in an industrial area, and they really fitted out well. So you go into New Zealand for a game, and you get to shoot around at the training facility. You're like, wow, this is pretty impressive, like really impressive. So I mean, Andrej Lemanis would have been right behind all that, and just really with the right players, the right mix, instant buy-in once they started rolling, and it just amplified into this really impressive performance over a 3-year patch, which set the stage for Dre to be Boomer's coach. So he certainly got into a deep groove, and culture-wise, I think a big part of that was obviously CJ Bruton. I think Kirk Penny was there that year. Trying to think exactly. I mean, Paul Hanari was the captain for that grand final win to start their three-peat in 2010. So I think he's a big factor as well. Mika Vukona obviously thrown in there with Boucher. They're your veteran leaders right there that would have carried the culture and the message, and everyone else had to fall in line because of their 3 or 4 veteran stars. So you take that out, you go do an NBA model where it's just purely based on performance, and I think Matt Walsh has been in teams that's really been about the NBA model, and he's played in upper level Europe, NBA as well. So he probably hasn't had the kind of team culture type NBL sort of thing where you've really got to batten down the hatches and you live in each other's pockets, and you've got to get it done from all your off court cultural standpoints. Most of those teams are probably just hired guns to get a job done. So this put together a squad, and basically it's sort of it's a bit crumbly. The foundation's doesn't seem to be laid that well. I bet the coach obviously came in fairly late as well, so he hasn't had a full preseason to really, put in everything that he would want to do.
Well, their entire coaching staff has never had an involvement in the NBL before. Now that they lost Mike Fitchett on the eve of the season, as we talked about earlier, when he came back from their NBA trip, so they have a whole coaching staff that's never been involved in the NBL before.
Yeah, well, it's a huge. You try and minimise risk at all different levels. Like you change your coach, that's a huge sort of risk. You change your core group, that's a huge risk. You change, your superstars, that's a huge risk. So if you compound multiple risks into one big thing, you end up with a bowl of soup. And right now it's seeming like it's all kind of fallen down a bit like that. So yeah, it's disappointing, I guess, that followers of the Breakers and past teammates of mine over there, you just sort of go, man, it must be pretty tough right now.
Yeah, and I was interested to get your thoughts, because I think you've built a reputation, certainly in the back half of your career, as being somebody that could set the culture for a club, and you built that reputation within the Taipans, and then when you played state league basketball as well, you would try to instill those culture traits in the clubs that you played for as well. So that's why I thought it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on how important the culture is. And yeah, hopefully, even though we're a Taipan show, hopefully people enjoyed getting your thoughts on that.
It's everything, because if you don't have buy-in, then you're stuffed. Like if you don't set the tone and actually put some things in place, put some principles in place, and actually put some behaviours in place that is unacceptable to deviate from, then you're going to give people rope to kind of go off and do what they want. And so what you end up with is no one on the same page, and you end up losing games by narrow margins, and it turns into a bad season. Now I think we've had good culture even last year, but we weren't able to win. We were close in a lot of games, but I'd never say the culture would appear to have dipped to like what it appears to be at New Zealand right now. So, it's not going to guarantee you wins every season, but it's got to be there as a foundation, because when you do get the right mix of imports or the right players, then all of a sudden it elevates from that, it springboards from that, and you end up with a three-peat like New Zealand had for those years. And what Perth Wildcats is able to do every year, they have a good foundation, but they're also able to afford the most expensive imports every year. So they have to have their culture in place, and then the right imports is just based on a money thing. They're able to afford ones that can perform.
Absolutely. And you probably don't have the fluctuations either, where based on talent, you might be able to get lucky one year and win a championship just on having more talent than everybody else, but it's just not sustainable. Whereas if you've got the culture right, you'll always be competitive, always be around the mark, and it's just a matter of, sometimes you might get lucky to win a title when things click, but you're always going to be a respected and sort of consistent outfit and that's what you've built at the Taipans. You've always been competitive, always been respected in the whole 10 years that you've been in Cairns, and that's just, I think it has to be your foundation, like you mentioned.
Well, you reduce the risk. Like I said, there's those different facets, right? So if you keep your core year in, year out, you reduce the risk of having to, worry about and service it every year. So if it's a set and forget core, let's take the 2014-15 season, Wilbekin and Tory Craig were our imports, right? So your core group, we had Cam Trigar, Matt Burston, myself, Stevie Way. We're all sitting there going, look, we know how each other plays, we know how each other moves. We're all bought into the team culture, from what we set up each sort of year, and even that year was more so because Jody Maguire came on board that year. But then all of a sudden, with a core group and the same sort of coach, so we know what we're getting from the coach, we know what we're getting from the core. Now the only risk really comes into play is, did we get the right imports? And we did. So if you change your coach, that's going to be a risk. But if you keep the core, then you limit that little facet as well. So, but if you change the coach, change the imports, which invariably happens most years, and then you change the core as well, then that's a trifecta of and almost an insurmountable challenge to get on top of or get right straight away.
Now, people are here to hear us talk about the Taipans, Loughz, so let's keep moving. Saturday night, it was like we talked about at the start, it was a terrific performance. A gutsy move as well, I think, from the coaching staff to start Nate Jawai and Cam Oliver together. We talked about it on the show last week. We talked about how they have the potential to dominate if they play together, and they were tremendous together. I thought both of them gave outstanding service, but also full credit to Majuk Deng for handling his, I don't want to call it a demotion, but he handled becoming the sixth man very, very well, and he still found a way to have a good game coming off the bench. So suddenly between the three big guys, you've got them all playing great basketball, and then you've got Kawat Noi, who had hit the best game of his life, but he also started on fire. So the Taipans went 16-3, and Kawat was a huge part of that. I just think from the moment they went up 16-3, and a lot of it was on the back of Kawat, and also the decision to start the two big fellas, I don't think the Taipans ever looked like they were going to lose.
Well, I don't think you'll find that the minutes changed between the bigs. Maybe just a rearrangement. So, you get over the sort of the starting thing, and I mean that's conversation for another day, because I would struggle. I've struggled with that before, going from starter to coming off the bench. So you're right. It is it's called buy-in. Deng's come off the bench with a good attitude. That's buying into the team. So it's really commendable. But Nate, that Brisbane chose not to double Nate. They took their chances by not doubling, which was interesting. And Nate drew fouls and got to the free throw line, converted at about 85%, which is perfect. That's all you need to do. If they're fouling and the shots don't go in, it might look like he didn't shoot a good percentage, but he was living at the free throw line, so he was getting it done. Cam Oliver able to dominate the four, based on Nate being able to body up on the 5. So it ended up being a really good match. Kuatnoi, man, he was really impressive with his energy. Hitting a few shots helps, of course, but 10 boards as well. Active, very active. So, and the other thing I saw, Pikey, was a lot more variation in the defenses. They were throwing Brisbane off a bit, not letting them get into rhythm. So it'll be man on man D for a bit, then they go to a press and they go back to the man. They really mixed it up. So I thought that was a noticeable change from Coach Kelly as well, and I thought that worked well. He kind of kept them on the back foot, so they were on their toes, kept Brisbane on the back foot. They just couldn't get a rhythm, and even Dre said in the post-game press conference, he just felt like the guys got stagnant. They didn't quite get in a groove. So, credit to Mike Kelly. He won that battle.
So many contributors as well. There was 9 guys that played at least 10 minutes, and everyone that hit the court all played their part. If you have a look at Jared Kenny, I thought his experience out there was really important. I thought even Krislovic had some good minutes. He got another nice dunk as well on a beautiful pass when he found himself open on a cut. He's making a bit of a habit of that. Mirko Jeric only had the 3 points on 2 shots, but he still looked dangerous out there based on the Bullets knew what he'd done the week before, so they couldn't afford to stand off him, so they had to guard him tight as well. And then you had all 5 starters having good games. It was great to see so many of the team stand up and make a really good contribution.
Well, Krislovic only dunks the ball or makes 3-pointers. He's a high gun. He's been really good finishing. In the Marlins season, that's carried over as well to the NBL season as well. Now, I do have some good news for you, Pikey. I got some good news. So, when Jared Kenny was waiting to sub into the game, he was just doing a few stretches down the end. Just at the moment, Loughz was heading back to his seat. So, got out the measuring tape and 13 centimeters on the mullet tail. Wow. Impressive. Wow. 13 centimeters. It curls up a bit, but it's a good 13 centimeters. So Pikey and Loughz will keep track of the mullet length, and we'll keep the fans updated as this thing continues to grow. But yeah, he certainly sort of steadied the ship.
Did he handle it okay? Is he on board with the joke?
Mate, the sides are shaved and the tails maintained. So I mean, from my books, that's buying into team culture, Pikey. Yeah. That's buying into the team, keeping the mullet and keeping the vibe strong.
It was in full flight as well. It was in full flight on Saturday, and there are some great photos if you have a look at our social media pages, I put one of them up across the weekend, and it caught it beautifully with the tail wagging at the back.
Oh, so feathered and lethal. Yep. It's a combination that's hard to keep going these days, but he certainly pulled it off. But look, great to see the numbers all throughout the bench there as well. So important, very important. 13 turnovers, Pikey. 6 turnovers, way below my 13 limit. Bullets had 13 turnovers, but yeah, they really looked after the ball. Doesn't it make a big difference, down the stretch when you know that, everyone's been pretty tidy with the rock to limit to only 6 turnovers. That's, when a coach looks at that, just goes, oh, this is exciting. He looks at the stat sheet. Oh, look at this, 6 turnovers. We can crack open a red wine tonight and just enjoy looking at that single digit number.
Yeah, and you got your point guard, Scotty Machado, 9 assists, 1 turnover. That's an incredible ratio given the amount of time he spends with the ball in his hands, and also the pressure that the opposition puts on him. That's a great figure for him. If he can keep a ratio anywhere near that, he's going to be even more important than he has been. But speaking of importance, the co-captain, we've spoken about Nate a fair bit, but let's speak about the other co-captain, DJ Newbill. That dunk that he delivered was quite spectacular. What was it like close up?
Mate, it was sensational. We saw him get the steal. One dribble, if you please. Yep. So the steal, one dribble. So the steal was behind half court. All right. Yep. So the steal happens behind half court, taps it out in front. One dribble, then he's on the rim. Now that's it. That's bloody NBA kind of footwork. And it wasn't a travel either. No. So he pushed the ball way out. Only needed the one drill, elevated off the left, threw it down with the right. Sobey came in from the side thinking he's going to contest. Mid-flight, had to abort. had to get out, couldn't get out of the way. Collected DJ from probably the chest down, and DJ's threw it down, and I'll let the interview unfold as DJ explains a lot more. But should we cross to the interview now with DJ?
One more thing quickly. With about 10 seconds to go, he had his clock cleaned as well by Taylor Braun. Did you get a good look at that?
No. Was that the end of the game? Yeah. Okay, so I had my camera out ready to record celebrations, and then I quickly whipped back to what was going on. I might have missed the actual jab, but obviously Taylor Braun, reprimanded today or earlier on with the $750 fine and was it a suspension as well?
It's a $750 fine if he accepts early charge. If he decides to challenge it, then I think it's a 1-game suspension if he's unsuccessful. So you'd think you'd take the fine.
It's just too late. I mean, I expected fight back in the second quarter.
It was far too late.
At the end of the game, it's all done.
I think that's what surprised DJ. DJ was thinking, what are you doing this now for?
Well, and he did the right thing. He didn't engage, and I think the club's right behind DJ. But I mean, it's just too late. But stand up earlier on and get you guys going so you get some benefit out of it. At the end of the game, it's all just done. Sorry.
Now you caught up with DJ. What can we look forward to?
Mate, I'll let it roll straight away. It's a great one. Enjoy this conversation with the captain of the Cairns Taipans, DJ Newbill.
Cairns Regional Council have just approved a zone for a new town in the city area. It's called Newbill-ville, and I got the mayor on the line now. Now, DJ, it was a great game for the full 40 minutes. You must have been pretty happy with the performance of the boys on Saturday.
That was a great intro.
You like that?
I've been a part of. Yeah, I like that one. But yeah, the game on Saturday was definitely great to be a part of. I'm sure from a fan standpoint, it was great. We had a lot of highlights. We were just locked in for 40 minutes, and we got the job done.
Look, talk about the highlight. That dunk. Oh, man. DJ with the one-hand throwdown off the left on Nathan Sobey. I've seen you get upstairs last year, and you've got up there already this year. But that one was sweet. That one was special.
Yeah, man, it was a momentum play. I cheated the passing lane. I got the steal. I really didn't think he was going to jump.
He wasn't going to contest.
Let me go. Yeah, I thought he was going to let me go, but then he just jumped, and I was already focused on dunking it.
Well, he got halfway up, and then he had to abort, and then. But you carefully laid him to rest, and then the stare down, and the little defensive slide crab step whilst getting back on D. So did you see anyone in the front row get excited by any chance?
Yeah, it was an old teammate of mine, ex-captain.
Oh yeah.
Loughz was in the crowd. I thought he was going to come down in the court and give me 5. I didn't make it that far.
I nearly did. I was held back. But, mate, plenty in the game. Obviously, in that fourth quarter, I believe Taylor Braun just got fined today for unduly rough play and fined $750. It was almost a bit too little too late. I'm assuming it was the end of the fourth quarter when that little tussle happened. Were you aware of that incident being reprimanded today?
I heard about it after practice.
Yeah.
Coach, he was telling me that Mark wanted us to know that they have our backs no matter what. Then they're not going to allow any type of, extra rough play like that, especially when the game is already over.
Yeah.
There's no need for him to
exactly.
Try to make a play like that with the circumstances in the game, especially with one of our starting players. It's just cleaning up the game. It was unfortunate that he got a fine or suspended, but I think when you're playing like that and just unaware of the situation, it's just not smart.
And now, I was always one to think that in training, it's good that players get a bit chippy. That you can have fights at training, you can have high intensity at training if the players kind of go at it a bit more. Now, I understand I was obviously a bit chippy at training last week. Do you think that helps prepare for a game when, you know, season's kind of on the line every game, but you think that kind of training really prepares the team well?
I mean, it depends. You know, we have a group that we don't take what happens on the court off the court.
Right.
We'll have those practices where everyone's going at it and competing. And that's a good thing because that means our team is competing and we're passionate and emotional about the game. But once we leave the court, you know, we're all talking about, you know, whatever, you know, our lives, NBA games, NFL games, whatever's going on, you know, we're the best of friends off the court. So, you know, it's definitely a good balance with our team with, you know, having that chippiness on the court, but also understanding that nothing is personal. We're all here for the same goal.
So back to banter once you hit the locker room. That's pretty good. That's how I remember it. And that, I mean, it makes it fun too. Like you compete between the white lines, but then, you know, you got to do it again every day anyway. So you're going to be living in each other's pockets. So it's good to get back to banter once you hit the locker room. I want to talk about, the, awesome performance of, Kouatnoi. Obviously a big rookie, young fella, 20 points, 10 rebounds. You must have been happy as a captain to see one of the youngsters play a really good game.
Yeah, definitely. You know, he's one of those guys. He comes in every day. He works hard. He has you can see him. His energy is unmatched out there. So for us to see him have success, the way he's had throughout the season is definitely good, especially me because he's my roommate on the road. Yep. So we spend a lot of time with each other. You know,
he goes and gets your coffee. Does he? You got a list of things that he has to?
You know, he does a good job, man, at being a rookie and listening, and he's super confident. You gotta love a kid like that.
Absolutely. Now, DJ, 15.3 points a game average. You're really leading the squad, and those games that you guys have been in there, only to come up short, you've had big contributions as well. Perth Wildcats in this weekend, obviously a massive win in Perth. They're going to come in firing. They could be without Terrico White, or most likely without Terrico White with that injury, but still, you know, Perth Wildcats is dangerous. How excited are you for this game?
I'm really excited, man. Anytime you can go up against the reigning champs, defending champs, it's always a great opportunity for us guys to go out there and just compete and play against a well-coached team with a really together group. So I definitely can't wait, man. It's just, you know, I can't really put it into words, man. I'm just pumped up to go out there and play.
DJ Newbill, thanks for joining me on the podcast, and look forward to a big performance on Saturday.
No problem. Thanks. Anytime.
This episode of the Pikey and Loughz Show is proudly brought to you by Cairns Total Physio. Less pain, more life. And Statton's Plumbing Company. Plumbers who care.
Okay, Loughz, great chat there with DJ Newbill, the Taipans co-captain. He had a terrific game on Saturday night as well, and fantastic for him to give up some time to have a chat to us here for the Pikey and Loughz Show.
Yeah, big thanks to DJ Newbill, mayor of Newbill-ville. Now, he's averaging 15 a game. You know, big numbers for the Taipans. I think that's up a bit from last year. But even the games that the Taipans have been close, he's been a big contributing factor. So really impressive numbers, and as well as having the captaincy role, probably a lot on his shoulders as well as Nate's. But, you know, they sort of spoke about how, the game unfolded last week, and obviously the blueprint, I guess, really putting in 4 good quarters and not allowing those lapses, and everyone to a man doing their role, sort of expanding outside of their capabilities, I guess. You know, so it's certainly a process for the captains, and DJ's really done well this year, and you know, looking forward for more success in the season.
Are you enjoying the chance to be being the interviewer to some of these former teammates of yours?
Yeah, it's good fun. It's funny, when I worked at the radio station, even though it's AM radio, John McKenzie is a classic interview guy. So I was watching how he works, and I thought he really does a great job on the radio in terms of just drawing information out. So it's a bit of an art to it. So I guess I'm learning along the way. But yeah, it's a little bit of fun.
Did a great job. Looking forward to more of it as we keep rolling. But let's keep moving, because we've got another huge Saturday night to look forward to. Back at the Cairns Convention Centre for the 3rd straight week, the Perth Wildcats are coming to town. The Taipans beat them by 23 points, biggest ever winning at RAC Arena in Perth earlier in the season. How can the Taipans replicate that performance?
Obviously, Wildcats possibly without Terrico White with an injury, but we never know. Sometimes Trevor Gleeson loves to play media games, and no one would know that more so than Jamie O'Loughlin. So he'll be all on top of where Terrico White will be at. But they come in as a grudge match. They come in, we allow the Taipans to give us our biggest deficit on our home floor. There's no way that we're going to come in lighthearted. So expect a full force attack from the Wildcats. You got to limit Cotton. Obviously, he's the linchpin. The coach will probably say, look, let's let someone else beat us. Let some of the other players basically have the open shots. Bryce Cotton gets nothing easy, and if one of the bench players goes for 40, then we'll live with that. Like, that's kind of usually been the mindset when you end up with a team of such a big superstar and then a team of good core players. So look, I'm expecting a barn burner. I think this is going to be a massive clash, crucial for the Taipans to hold serve. And Wildcats have been a little bit shaky or lucky in some of their wins, but they're still second place and doing very well. So, obviously credit to how they go about their business year in, year out, let alone game in, game out this season.
A couple of things that stood out from that game in Perth was that the Taipans were so efficient with everything they did offensively. So you probably can't rely on shooting the ball as well as they did that night every single time. I think, from memory, Cam Oliver and Majuk Deng especially were just unstoppable from three, and so was Scotty Machado. The other thing was that they got out rebounded really badly, and I think the Wildcats had 20-something offensive rebounds. Is that something that you just can't afford to let happen again?
Oh, 100%. You got to learn from that Melbourne United game where they got out-rebounded and also from the Illawarra Hawks game where they got out-rebounded. And it's an energy thing. It's just an effort thing and a concentration thing. So, I think practices have been a bit chippy. Practices have been focusing on probably a rebounding. It's a skill. It really is a skill. It's a footwork skill. And it's like all skills, you need to practice it, even though you think, do we actually have to practice rebounding? Like, it's a rebound war drill. It's a pain in the behind, but you just got to do it at training. Otherwise, players aren't conditioned to concentrate to hold your man off. And we're not the tallest team going around, so you've got to use your footwork and use your body strength. But yeah, certainly when they've caught fire, the Taipans, it's been an easier game. Where the real sign of real maturity from a team comes is if you're not shooting well, how do you grind out a win? And they haven't shown the maturity to be able to grind out those tough wins yet. But I'd like to see that 40 minutes of concentration or breaking it down into those smaller chunks and to a man bringing the juice for each of those 5-minute segments. So if they can keep the focus small and on the process per quarter, and one of those process goals will be find your box outs and get that job done at least 90%. We used to have a 90% successful box out rate. So that involved the assistant coaches statting when a player did not box out correctly. And then, they came to you at the end of the game and said, look, you had 25 box out opportunities and you only got 20 of them done. So you only got a box out rate of 80%. So it's not good enough. Yeah, it comes down to all those little details.
I'm willing to bet Lennon Smart's got that job this season. What do you think?
I think he's got the clipboard out ready to go.
Now, of course, it's a double header as well for the Taipans this weekend. Finish up on Saturday night, jump on the plane to Sydney, and then on the bus down to Wollongong on Sunday. Get ready for the Illawarra Hawks, who have already beaten the Taipans twice this season, and they're going to be fresh. It's tough when you play a team that's fully fresh, when you would have played less than 48 hours earlier and have had the travel in between.
A win changes everything. You get the win on Saturday night, then you go down to Illawarra full of confidence and having just, had real positive experience, a couple of nights before. Sometimes that carries on into a nice little double header, golden double win type opportunity. So the flip side is if you lose, then you go down thinking, man, we really got to win now. And then all your efforts going into thinking must win, when it's really, you got to restrain yourself and say, no, we're going to focus on our boring individual quarter by quarter goals, breaking down the game again. So Mike will keep them in check in terms of the energy levels and things like that and what they're focusing on. So yeah, hopefully you lock and load with a great effort on Saturday, and then you go down for, I'm not going to say a free swing down in Illawarra, because now you need road wins. You need 5 out of 9 road wins to finish the season.
Yeah, obviously they could go 1-1, but the difference between going 2-0 this weekend and improving to 5-6, or going 0-2 and being 3-8 is pretty massive. This could be a season-defining 2 games.
I think every game right now is a season-defining critical junction. There's just no room for error. 3 wins, 3-7, 3-6?
3-6.
3-6 right now. You've already dropped 2 games at home. It gets tough. If you drop one more game at home, it gets real tough. You've got to win 6 out of 9 on the road or something like that. So, nonetheless, you still have to win in Illawarra. Bottom team, New Zealand or Illawarra, you've got to collect a win. Otherwise, it's too tough.
What do you got for us tip-wise?
Against the Wildcats, without Terrico White, I'm pitching that the Taipans will be able to get it done by 7.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, 6. 6? 6 points, yeah.
And then Saturday, on Monday night?
Well, Monday night they gotta get moving. I'm thinking it's going to be a tight game, so it's the Taipans by 2 on Monday night.
There we go. Let's hope that happens, because suddenly 5-6 and the Taipans are well and truly in that fight for 4th spot. I think it looks like it's going to be a battle between everybody else for that 4th spot, because Sydney, Perth and Melbourne look like they're pulling away. So suddenly the Taipans could be right back in the hunt. So let's hope that happens.
I think Logjam is 16 wins still. I think 17, like I mentioned before, gets you a pretty good sniff at 4th place. So those top 3 teams are starting to run away. Phoenix are back in the pack now. It's every game, every chance you have just to edge away from the scrap from the logjam would be handy.
Very quickly, let's touch on the other games this round as well. Gets underway Friday night. Brisbane Bullets, they're struggling a little bit, as we saw last week. They're 4-5. They're in 5th spot. They host the Adelaide 36ers, who are just behind. They're 4-5 as well. So this is another game between 2 of those teams that are fighting for that 4th spot.
Look, I think Randall's pretty hard to stop, and I think Joey's going to have them in a pretty good position. I'm not sure if Glidden's status is, if he's back with that back injury. I'd say doubtful, but I don't think the Bullets have it together right now. I think Adelaide pounce them, get them by 8.
Then on Saturday, the curtain raiser before the big one in Cairns, Southeast Melbourne. They've lost a couple now. They're back to 5-4, and they get to have another game in Melbourne as well. So they've still only left Melbourne once in their first 10 games, but they host the Sydney Kings. So I think they're up against it.
They've certainly come, not crashing down, but they've come down to reality in terms of the dream start. I think it comes down to now what's their foundation, what's their culture. They're having meetings and things like that. Hey guys, maybe we should chat about this culture thing now. I'm sure they've done it at the start of the season, but this is the part where you have to go back to what you base your whole team around, and what do you value, what are your behaviours that are acceptable. So I think Sydney will get the job done down there by what's it going to be? I think they've got to get it done by double digits. I think they'll win by 10.
Then on Sunday, it's tough for the Brisbane Bullets. They come off their game on Friday, travel down to Melbourne to play a hot Melbourne United team who will be fresh and also on a 5-game winning streak.
I think Melbourne United by 12.
Last one, Adelaide, they're backing up as well, so they head straight back home. They host the New Zealand Breakers, and who knows what you're going to get from them.
I think Adelaide will be okay at home, and they will get it done by, I think this will be another 12-point win as well.
This episode of the Pikey and Loughz Show is proudly brought to you by Cairns Total Physio. Less pain, more life. And Statton's Plumbing Company. Plumbers who care.
There we go, Loughz. It's been a big show. There was plenty to talk about from a Taipans point of view, and best part of that was it was all good news. Not so much good news from some of the other things we talked about, but there was plenty of hot NBL topics that we covered on the Pikey and Loughz show this week. Let's look forward to Saturday night against the Wildcats. Let's hope for another big performance. We've got through another show. What can you leave us with?
Mate, it's time for the Taipans to tame the Cats and set their season up for an epic showdown for this middle stretch. So calm the Taipans, get the job done at home, and let's go for 2-2 with the win in Illawarra as well.